Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're moving past the usual talk about workplace culture.
Right. We're getting into the thick of it.
Exactly, how to handle, genuinely toxic work environments.
Hmm.
So our goal really is to give you a kind of practical survival kit. Strategies to cope, maybe, but also to figure out your next move. And yeah, that might mean planning an exit.
Definitely. We want to offer more than just, saying that sounds tough. By the end of this, you should have a better handle on, how bad things actually are where you work.
And maybe some tools to deal with it.
Yes, some techniques for those tricky dynamics, and really importantly, a clear way to think about leaving, if that's what it comes down to.
Think of it like your intel briefing for the office battlefield. We'll look at the different levels of bad, from just annoying stuff right up to the really damaging situations.
And we'll cover some tactics too, like malicious compliance, which can be surprisingly useful.
And how to actually plan an escape strategically.
It's worth just remembering, too, that when things get tough, HR isn't necessarily your first stop. They're there for the company, primarily.
Good point. Keep that perspective.
Yeah, it helps frame the strategies we'll discuss.
Okay, so let's dive into this idea of a toxicity scale. It's not super scientific, obviously.
No, it's more like a spectrum, a way to sort of gauge the vibe,
Yeah.
from minor irritations to, well, situations where you might need external help.
And figuring out where your workplace falls, that's the first step.
Exactly, because how you respond depends entirely on how bad things are. Are these small things you can maybe manage, or is it something, fundamentally broken?
Right. So, okay, level one. We're calling this the passive-aggressive Post-it. Like, you find that note in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Please clean your dishes. Maybe a smiley face, but it's underlined like 3 times.
Yeah, that kind of smiley face. It's small, but it feels pointed, doesn't it? It's that low-level negativity, often from stuff people aren't saying out loud.
Not outright hostile, but it adds up. Over time, yeah. Creates a kind of unease.
Okay, moving up a bit. Level 3. The meeting that should have been an email.
Oh, we've all sat through those.
Haven't we just? Mandatory 2-hour synergy sessions that achieve, well, not much that an email couldn't have done in 5 minutes.
And that signals something, right? It's
Yeah.
about inefficiency, maybe a lack of respect for people's actual work time. It drains morale.
Definitely. Okay, level 5, the narcissist CEO. This is where you hear things like, we're all family here,
Ah, yes, the family that expects you to work Saturdays. Mandatory fun.
and be available pretty much 24/7. That family feeling often comes with pretty intense expectations.
And that's where the toxicity really ramps up. Blurring those lines between work and life, the unreasonable demands, they can feel quite exploitative.
Okay, then we get to the top, level 10, whistleblower territory.
Right.
The example we found was like someone secretly tracking colleagues' bathroom breaks on a spreadsheet.
Wow. Yeah, that's that's extreme. That tells you trust is completely gone. Something is seriously, fundamentally wrong there. It's beyond just unpleasant, isn't it? It could be actually harmful, maybe even illegal.
Absolutely. That's when you definitely think about getting outside advice, maybe legal counsel. It signals potential unethical stuff happening.
So just take a second if you're listening. Think about your own experience. Current job, past job. Where does it fit on this kind of scale? Do any of these levels sound familiar?
Because once you sort of place it, you can start seeing the tactics more clearly.
Mm.
Which brings us to the next bit. The psychological games people play at work.
Yeah, sometimes it feels less like work and more like navigating a minefield. These subtle or not so subtle mind game.
Things like gaslighting.
Can you just quickly define that again?
Sure. It's basically making someone doubt their own reality, their own memory, their sanity even, twisting things around.
Okay. And then there's micromanaging, just that constant oversight.
Both of those, they really wear you down. Undermine your confidence, create this constant anxiety. Trust just evaporates.
And what about those classic moves, like the bait and switch? They sell you on work-life balance in the interview.
But then suddenly it's okay to get Slack messages at 11 p.m. and expect a reply.
Right. How does that square? It's a huge disconnect.
And that disconnect is a major sign of a toxic place.
Hmm.
They say one thing, but the reality, the expectation, is totally different. Makes it impossible to set boundaries.
Then there's the one we're calling the invisible promotion.
Ah, yes.
Where you're doing way more, taking on bigger tasks, maybe things well above your job description.
And they tell you you're doing a great job.
Exactly. Lots of praise, but no actual promotion, no pay rise.
It's a way to get more out of you without actually compensating you fairly. They leverage your commitment, your drive.
And maybe the ugliest one is the scapegoat special.
Yeah.
This happens when you maybe raise a genuine concern, point out a problem, maybe even something unethical.
And suddenly you're the problem. Suddenly there's a paper trail about your performance issues.
Wow. So it's
It-
retaliation, basically.
Absolutely. It's designed to shut you up, protect the people in charge, and it can seriously damage your career, your reputation.
Okay, this sounds grim. So a practical tip here, document everything.
Yes. Create
Yeah.
that paper trail. A really simple but effective way is to BCC your personal email on important work emails.
So you have your own independent record.
Exactly. Dates, times, who said what. If things go south, if they try to gaslight you or make false claims, you have your evidence. It protects you.
That's really crucial advice. Okay, so we've seen some of the nasty tactics. What about fighting back in a way? Let's talk about malicious compliance.
Right. Malicious compliance. It's a subtle art,
It
really.
sounds, well, malicious.
It kind of is, but the idea is you follow the rules, the instructions, exactly to the letter,
Yeah.
even when you know doing so is inefficient or will cause problems.
So you're doing what you're told, but
But you're doing it so precisely, so rigidly, that it highlights how ridiculous the rule or the request actually is, all while looking perfectly innocent.
like playing dumb strategically.
Pretty much. It can be passive-aggressive, sure, but effective. Like, say someone gives you a really vague instruction.
Okay.
You could reply, okay, per your request, I've now CC'd you on all 187 emails related to this project.
Making the point through sheer volume.
Exactly. It shows the request wasn't practical. Or asking for things in writing.
How does that work?
If someone asks you to do something unreasonable, you say, sure, I'd love to prioritize that. Just need the request in writing, please, outlining which current tasks get pushed back.
And they might just back down.
Often, yeah, because they don't want to put that bad idea on record.
And the classic, let me follow exactly what the employee handbook says, knowing full well the handbook is outdated or impossible to follow literally.
That's the beauty of it. Plausible deniability. You're just following the rules. It's hard to fault you for it, but it exposes the system's flaws.
We even heard stories, these shamefile anecdotes, people who followed every single tiny rule so meticulously.
That management begged them to stop because it ground everything to a halt.
Yes. It shows how powerful it can be, kind of humorous in a dark way.
It really highlights how broken some processes can be. Following the rules becomes the disruption.
But okay, as fun as malicious compliance might sound sometimes, it's often not a long-term fix, is it?
Usually not. If the environment is truly toxic, sometimes the best strategy is getting out.
Planning your escape. Because let's face it, these places rarely fix themselves.
Recognizing that, deciding to leave, it's a huge step for your own well-being. And having a plan makes it feel less daunting, more like taking control.
So the escape plan, step 1, build the EFIT fund, your financial cushion.
Right, and we broke this down into maybe 3 stages. First, the side hustle.
Start something on the side, freelancing, a passion project.
Something that brings in income separate from the toxic job. It gives you options, reduces that feeling of being trapped.
Okay, makes sense. Second stage,
The LinkedIn ghosting.
ghosting.
Meaning you subtly start making yourself visible to recruiters, update your profile, maybe post some vague but industry-relevant thoughts.
Not like, I hate my job, hire me.
No, much more subtle. Just putting out feelers, making yourself findable without raising alarms at your current place. Passive job searching.
Got it. And the third part of the plan?
The personal growth exit. When you actually resign,
You don't necessarily tell them exactly why you're leaving.
probably best not to burn bridges if you can avoid it. Frame it positively. Seeking new opportunities for growth, pursuing personal development, even if inside you're thinking.
Anything is better than this.
Exactly. Maintain that professional front.
We did hear one story, kind of extreme. Someone took mental health leave and just never went back.
Yeah, it shows the lengths people feel they need to go to sometimes. While maybe not a standard strategy, it does underline that prioritizing your health is paramount. Find a safe, strategic way out.
So the big question then becomes, when do you pull the trigger on the escape plan? How do you know if it's just normal job stress versus actual toxicity you need to run from?
That's the key distinction, isn't it? It really comes down to the consistent impact on your well-being. Some stress is normal, yeah, but toxic places create this ongoing, serious drain.
So when might it be okay to stay? Maybe try to fix things.
Well, maybe if the problem is really localized, like one bad boss, but the rest of the company seems okay.
And a transfer is actually possible.
Right. If moving teams or departments is a realistic option, that might solve it.
What about trying to fix it from within?
That's tricky. You'd need serious leverage, like strong union protection. Maybe you have incredibly rare skills they desperately need.
Or maybe you know something.
Well, potentially damaging information.
Right.
But that's a very risky path. You have to weigh that extremely carefully.
Just sleek hitting on that last one, mostly.
Right.
But okay, when is it definitely time to run?
If the thought of work just fills you with constant dread, that phrase Sunday scaries, but you're feeling them by, like, Friday afternoon.
That's a huge red flag.
Massive. Or if it's triggering panic attacks, messing with your sleep, your mental health is tanking. That's your signal. It's time to make a plan and get out.
Because no job is worth that.
Absolutely not. Your health comes first.
Oh.
Yes, things like insurance and bills are real concerns, so plan the exit thoughtfully. But don't stay somewhere that's actively harming you.
Okay. That leads us nicely into our homework for you, the listener.
Yes, time to do a little self-assessment.
First task, calculate your misery paycheck.
Your what?
Your misery paycheck.
Yeah.
Take your salary, right, and divide it not just by your work hours, but by all the hours you spend working, plus actively dreading work, the anxiety hours, the weekend worrying.
To find your real hourly rate once you factor in the emotional cost.
Exactly. It can be pretty revealing.
Okay, that's task 1. What's next?
Task 2 is more cathartic. Draft a rage resignation letter.
Oh, I like the sound of this.
Just let it all out. Everything you wish you could say. Get it all down on paper or, type it out. Unfiltered.
And then?
Send it.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Then you delete it.
Oh.
Just the act of writing it is the point.
Yeah, it can be a release, just getting those frustrations articulated.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking ahead, what's our next deep dive about?
Next time, we're tackling networking without lying.
Ooh, interesting. How to schmooze without feeling fake.
Basically, yeah. How to build real connections authentically. Which, is pretty useful if you're planning that escape from a toxic place and need to build your network.
Very relevant.
So, until then, some final thoughts. Maybe update your resume. Just have it ready.
Good idea. And set those boundaries.
Yeah.
And mute the work notifications after hours.
Yeah,
Protect your personal time.
definitely. And just remember, even if things feel really tough right now, hold on to your own goals, your own aspirations outside of that job.
Well said. And if you are struggling with the should I stay or should I go question, we did put together a little flowchart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the should I quit flowchart might help clarify things. You can get it if you DM us on social media at English Unlocked. Just use the hashtag #ToxicBoss.
It's a great resource. Okay, that's all for this deep dive.
See you next time.